This is KWCH 12 Eyewitness News this morning.
A new COVID-19 prediction from researchers paints a grim picture for the U.S. to close out the year. Plus, we hear from one of the nation's top health experts on the school reopening debate. But first, let's take a live look at Doppler radar. Cracks of thunder happening right now over the KWCH station. Meteorologist Jake Dunn is tracking those showers that are on their way out and the heat that's on the way in. Jake, what's going on? Today, we'll get new numbers from the Kansas Department of Health and Environment showing the impact COVID-19 is having on our state. Let's get you caught up on what's happening nationwide. The U.S. death toll surpassed 160,000, and there's a new prediction that number could nearly double in the next few months. A research model from the University of Washington suggests 70,000 lives would be saved if there is consistent mask wearing. If not, the number of deaths could reach close to 300,000 by early December. Health officials in Kansas are sounding an alarm about a rise in pediatric cases of COVID-19. And as schools prepare to open, many parents are concerned. Anna Auld looked into how the virus can impact children. Multi-system inflammatory syndrome is being reported in kids with COVID-19 in the New York area. Dr. Reddy says while it's scary, it is very rare. She also says there's just not enough research on children with COVID-19 right now to know the lasting impacts it could have on them. The director of the Centers for Disease Control wants to see your kids return to school this fall. Eyewitness News spoke with Dr. Robert Redfield to get his thoughts on the upcoming school year. He says it's best for kids to go to school and learn in person. He also says it's important for schools to follow the CDC's guidelines to keep students and staff members safe.
It's in the public health interest of K through 12s to get back to face-to-face learning. All right, it's not public health versus the economy, getting people back to work. It's public health versus public health for these kids.
We talked to Dr. Redfield about a variety of coronavirus-related topics. You can watch the full interview on your KWCH 12 News app. Today, we expect new coronavirus numbers from the Sedgwick County Health Department. The latest data is promising. The number of active cases dropped by 48. Also, there are twice as many reported recoveries compared to new active cases. There are now 44 deaths in the county. More than 58,000 people have been tested. That's what this big graph shows. The percentage of tests coming back positive sits now at 10.6%. You can see that number, the blue line, gradually coming down from its peak of 14% about 2 weeks ago. Governor Laura Kelly will get tested for coronavirus after attending a meeting with a Kansas lawmaker who contracted COVID-19. House Speaker Ron Rickman Jr. tested positive for coronavirus last month. He tested positive on July 13th and spent a week in the hospital. Rickman attended a state house meeting with Governor Kelly and other lawmakers on July 29th, but says he was no longer contagious at that point. Hey, check this out. Wichita's new downtown baseball stadium is getting a mural courtesy of the Wichita Office of Economic Development. The city's new AAA baseball team, the Wind Surge, will call the stadium home when play resumes next April. The minor league season got canceled because of the pandemic, and as a result, this new stadium sat empty all summer. The National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration revises its hurricane season forecast, which also includes an agency first. NOAA is now predicting this season will see 19 to 25 named storms. NOAA has never forecast up to 25 storms, but says it's justified because the season will be extremely active. To put this into perspective, the average season produces only 12 named storms. Hurricane season officially ends November 30th. And Jake, I know hurricane, that's the last thing anybody needs in 2020 is a devastating hurricane. We're watching your wallet if you are in the market to buy a home. According to the Federal Loan Corporation, Freddie Mac, mortgage rates have hit another all-time low. The average interest rate on a 30-year fixed mortgage fell to 2.88% this past week. That's the lowest level in nearly 50 years. The 15-year fixed rate dropped to 2.44%. Financial brokers say you should act fast if you want to buy because the low rates give other potential buyers more purchasing power.
Don't delay. You need to be on top of gathering all the paperwork, and sometimes there's a lot of paperwork involved between tax returns, bank statements, pay stubs, W-2s, you name it.
Realtors also say supply is low right now, so you could find yourself in a bidding war. It is 4:46, and we are still seeing some activity on Super Doppler radar. Actually, some pretty loud crashes of thunder over the news station here in Wichita. Jake has a look at where these showers go from here, and then the heat that's moving in for your weekend in your Storm Team 12 forecast. The U.S. State Department lifts its global do not travel advisory. The department issued the highest level 4 advisory on March 19th. The advisory warned U.S. citizens against traveling overseas due to the pandemic. Officials say health and safety conditions are improving in some countries, so the department is returning to its previous system of country-specific levels of travel advice. Even though the department lifted this advisory, Americans still face travel restrictions in other countries. The European Union blocked entry to U.S. tourists, and the U.K. requires U.S. travelers to quarantine for 14 days. Travel restrictions are also in place between the U.S., Canada, and Mexico until later this month. The stage is set for a U.S. Senate showdown in Tennessee in November. Tennessee voters pick Bill Hagerty to be the Republican nominee and Marquita Bradshaw as the Democratic nominee. Bradshaw is a Memphis environmentalist, black activist, and single mom. She received more than 36% of the vote compared to her competitors. On the Republican side, Hagerty won with 50%. He is favored to win the seat, which is being vacated by outgoing Senator Lamar Alexander. Republicans have held both of Tennessee's Senate seats since 1994. Hagerty thanked his supporters during his victory speech and encouraged them to keep up the momentum into November.
I cannot thank you enough. You believed in me. You believed in my vision for this state. And I can't thank you enough for sending me to be your Republican candidate for U.S. Senate. I'm looking forward to serving you well.
Hagerty and Bradshaw will square off in the November general election. Twitter plays no favorites when it comes to misinformation on its platform. Twitter temporarily stopped the DNC from tweeting yesterday after it attempted to call out President Trump for his COVID-19 claim about kids and immunity. The DNC tweeted a clip of the president making the claim, which is exactly the reason Twitter temporarily stopped the Trump campaign from tweeting on Wednesday. Both the DNC and Trump campaign deleted their tweets. Twitter says it will flag any account that violates its COVID-19 misinformation policy. We're keeping an eye on Super Doppler radar as storms move across the state this morning. Some loud cracks of thunder in the last 30 minutes or so over the station here at KWCH. Jake has the details on that and the rising thermometer after the break.